Hi, my name's Matt, I'm from Tabletop Games, and in this next set of videos we're going to look at Quixel Suite's Undo. This is a normal map creation tool that allows users to build normal maps quite quickly inside of Photoshop. In the first video we're going to look at how we can use selections and masks to build our normal map detail. In the second video we're going to look at how we can use the normal map and to create an AO map, as well as using a texture map to create a normal map. And in the third video, we're going to look at how we can create a set of bolts that we can use over and over again in our normal maps. There's a link in the description below for the software, so let's get started. Okay, in this video, we're going to look at how we can use Undo to create normal maps. Now, on screen at the moment, there's a image of a sci-fi floor I did quite a few years ago now for my masters. And originally, I built a high poly floor, baked that detail down, and then created a normal map from that detail. In this video, I'm going to show you how you could get around doing that and by using Undo, which is part of Quixel Suite. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new file. And I'm in Photoshop at the moment, so I'm going to make sure it's set to pixels. And I'm going to set it to 2048 by 2048, keeping the resolution at 72. I never go over 72. Generally, the only time I do is if I'm doing print, so I tend to go between 150 and 300 dpi for that. But for textures, I normally keep it at 72 resolution. And I always work high, so actually this might not be the final size I use in game, but it means that if I need to strip down to like 1024 or 512 by 512, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to go higher. So I always start at the highest as I need. Click create. So I've got my image here, and I'm just going to get rid of the background, and I'm just going to make this like a dark grey, because I prefer to work with the background when it's dark grey. And then normally, you would have your UV sheet. So if I just turn all this off, you can see that this is my UV sheet, my low poly floor. And if I just turn off this, you can see that. So I've got my low poly, I've modeled it and I've UV'd it, and I've extracted that UVs into Photoshop so that I can use it as an overlay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select that by pressing Control A, Control C, and Control V, which will paste it in. Now, at the moment, it's set to normal, which is not what I want. So I want to go blend mode screen. And that just means that I can now see where the outlines are. Okay. The next thing I need to do is, so this is my pattern. I've already got it. So you could go on the internet and look for references of what you want to make. You can find like alphas and that sort of stuff to use as well. I am going to base it off here. So, because I've already got the albedo, I'm at a bit more of an advantage because I know where I need to make my thing. So I'm just going to select this. And again, Control A selects the whole image, and Control C, Control V to paste it in. Now, there is another way to do that in Photoshop, which is if you right-click here, duplicate layer, you can duplicate your layer to whichever Photoshop file you've got open. So, duplicate it there. And the best thing with that is you can do that with groups. So, say I wanted to duplicate this whole group, you can go duplicate group. And there I have it in my Photoshop file. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, if I want to merge this group as well, I can do by merging it like that. So to begin with, what we need to do is we need to do selection masks. Now, part of this video is going to be sped up because obviously you guys want to see the results of it inside of Undo, and in the next chapter we're going to look at how we can take that normal map and put it into 3D so we can see a visual representation of it. But for this, now I'm just going to show you some of the basics with Undo. So I opened up Quixel Suite. If I do that again, Now, if Quixel Suite doesn't appear in front of Photoshop, it means that you either need to open it as an admin or you need to reinstall it. It's path, so you can do that by clicking on here and config shared directory. It is, oh, here you go. Set explicit Photoshop connection and set automatic Photoshop connection. This means that if you click Quixel Suite and Photoshop isn't open, it will load that Photoshop version you want. So at the moment I'm using CC 2018, so it'll load that version. And then set this as well, just to be sure. It's worked fine. So I'm going to click Undo. And a little box is going to come up. Yay. Now, I don't want to damage this layer. So if I click this button now, it's going to delete this layer, it's going to damage it, and it's going to be irreversible. So I'm just going to create a new layer. If in doubt, create a new layer. That's the best way for this. And I'm just going to do a selection mask. So let's say I want to make this grill here. Now, obviously, I could just do this. So with the diffuse, select that. But it's quite rough. So it's going to pick up all these little blemishes. So this is probably not the best way to do it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a little mask. Do that. And say I wanted to, I'm just going to create a new layer for this. I'm going to use black and white. I'm going to use that as black. Then just minimize this a minute and create a new layer on top. And let's create this. So, best way I've found to do this is, say if I do that, just create a new layer, and here I'm holding Shift, keep it square. Press Ctrl D to deselect it. I'm just going to merge these layers. Press Ctrl T, and I'm just going to flip it horizontally. Now you wonder, why didn't you just stretch it out? It is going to start to pixelate if you stretch it out. So if I do it to this instead, I'm just going to merge these layers as well. Ctrl T, should be fine. And then what I can do is, one of the good things about Photoshop is, you see how it's now snapping 5 pixels away. Which actually, if I delete these a minute, move this down, that's a start. 5, 5. So it makes it quite easy to start to duplicate this. I mean, I could merge it as well and do it again. Okay. And I've got this mask now, and it's there, and I can start to play around with this. So what I'm going to do is just Control G. So I selected both of these, holding left click Shift, and Control D, which groups it. I'm going to call this a mask, so that I know when I use it. I'll just move this to the top. So I've got my mask. So to begin with, I'm going to select the, just going to merge these. Call this grill. So I double click on it, and I call this grill base. I can group these as well. So it's grill. Yep. Because I've got 2 of these grills. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take leave that for now, because I only need to do 1, because what I can do now, or after, is I can start to duplicate inside of Undo. So what I need to do is make a selection. So Control left click, and that'll make the selection. And then on layer 2, I can click this. Now you think, where's my thingy? It's my mask is over the top. I've got this here, and this is Endo. So we can change the smoothness so it can be more chiseled, shallow, smooth for the time being. Actually, I'm going to keep it chiseled because we want that nice crisp edge on there. We can change the bevel, so we can have an outer bevel, emboss, groove, which I like because it gives that kind of sci-fi panel, and then stroke in a more the same. We're going to stick it to groove. We can go up and down. So actually, groove's probably not the best to show this, so I'll go back to inner. I'll just go down so you can see it go inlet instead of outlet. Going up and down. Sorry. And then go back to groove. We can change the curve, so you can see it softens the edges out. Now, you can have a play around with this yourselves. I mean, that's nice because it's a nice deep curve. So you can play around with the curves. This gives this nice deep round curve, which is good for that kind of sci-fi. I'm just going to keep it to linear for the time being. Yeah, actually, cone valley, good. You can change the size of it. Stick that to 4. And I mean, if you change the number, you can do. You can change the depth. So if you just want it faint, you can do. For this, I want it quite prominent. And if you look at the bake, you can see it's not that prominent. So we can get quite nice detail out of this. We can change the opacity of it. And we can change the softness. So you start to get that roundness on it. We can move this up to here. You can also sculpt on this, but I'll show you that in a minute, and it's not the greatest. But for getting quick, detailed normal maps out, it's really good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the grill thing. So if I bring that back, and if I control left click on the layer, it means all my grills are now selected. The reason why I just didn't do one and then duplicated it in here is I know for a fact that it will be the right size throughout the whole thing. Minimize that. Make sure you're in the group when you're working, so you have to make sure you're within normal and this layer here. And just click the button. Okay. We want this to go down, and we want some gap in it. So there you go. So actually, if we compare this, you can see that actually this is more prominent, yeah, and it's been quicker. So that took me. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a couple of years ago when I did this. This took me ages to do. Whereas I've got the same design straight out. And say, for example, if we wanted to create some bolts. So let's create a mask for a bolt. And in a later video, I'm going to show you how you can use an image of a set of bolts and just create a library for this. So actually, I normally have a library for this, but I'll just do it now to show you. I'm just going to create this in the mask. And flip it vertically. Wow, okay, that didn't really. I know, I said. And then let's create this. Okay. And I can Control T, play around with it even more. I can create these and put them in. Now, one of the problems with that is it's quite thingy. So what I want to do is I want to create an inlet. This to sit in here. Now anything above is going to show up as it's going to show up over the top, which is not what we want. I'll show you how to fix that in a minute. We just drag this underneath. You can see you start to get down, and there you go. And I could group these and call this bolt. And then just drag it alt. And drag it. No, still not. No. And because I've grouped them together, they're now in the same group. And we can do this. Grab them. So you can see that. So that's a slight issue. So if I group them again, okay, and if I grab layer 4, play around with this, move it up and down. So there's lots of things you can do to kind of start to make this look more alive. And what I would generally do after that is just group these. And then group them again. So if I wanted to just minimize this and start to okay. And when I'm happy, I can grab all of these and just put them in here. It's just while I'm duplicating, basically. And to be fair, you probably would never share this Photoshop file anyway, so it's up to you. But as long as, if I was to try and make a new normal map layer off this, it probably wouldn't work. So Control-Shift-N to create a new layer, and then I can create it from there. So the rest of the video is going to be sped up, me actually creating this, and then we can see what it looks like at the end. Okay, so I've got mine. Blue Peter moment now. Done. What I'm going to do now is save it, and then we're going to have a look at what it looks like inside of 3DO. So, File, Save As. Normally it saves in app data, but I've already saved it, so I'm going to save it here. Full platform for demo. Yes. And yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's the PSD save. So we're going to save now, save as. I'm going to save it as a target. I'm going to just call this normal. And save it as a 24-bit. Okay. Well, let's open up 3DO. Now, you can view this in anything. I would highly recommend you viewing it in whatever game engine you're going to be using, whether that's Unity, Unreal, in-house, whatever. It's better to view the textures inside of this, but for this demonstration, I'm just going to use 3DO to set up just a sample test here. So if we go to import, go to mesh, just find it now. Just bear with me, it's been a while since I've used this. So if you hold Alt and middle mouse button, that allows you to scroll around. Middle mouse button, right mouse button and Alt allows you to pan in and out. Left mouse and Alt allows you to pan around it. I think the pivot might be off on this thing, so just bear with me. But anyway, I'm just going to move it in, so there you go. I think if you hold Shift and right mouse button, it brings the light around, but we can play around with that in a minute. So what I want to do is load in this normal map. I'm just going to do it here. And there we go. So you can see what your normal map looks like on 3D, because putting it into Maya never looks right. So I always use like either the game engine that I'm using, or if I'm not, maybe Marmoset or 3DO. Both do a good job of just seeing, but 3DO is good for if you're using Endo, then you can switch between the two. In the next video, we'll cover all about using normal maps to create AO textures, as well as looking at how we can take an image and turn that into a normal map. And I'll also show you what the sci-fi floor looks like with all these textures applied inside of 3DO. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.